Last year, I had a slightly humbling realization. My goals were falling off, I felt less motivated, and I just felt like I needed more discipline. But then I realized I was just dehydrated. And being a nurse, that was both funny and a little embarrassing because most of the time we start trying to optimize, we go to mindset, we go to productivity, but we forget that sometimes we need to go right back to the basics. So today we're talking about the H in my Harmony framework, which is health, the health basics. So why is this important? Because, like I said, most of the women that I work with, we go right to fixing. And a lot of the times, this is just an invitation from the body to listen, to use our intuitive knowledge, gather that information, and figure out what's going on. So let's talk about it. As a nurse, there's so many things I want to talk about when it comes to health, but I've narrowed them down to these three main topics that I don't feel like I've talked about as much in other videos, and I hope this can really spark some dialogue. So today we will be talking about your blood work and biodata. I'm wearing my Whoop, getting all my stuff down. We're also going to talk about cycle awareness, so important for women. And thirdly, we're going to talk about hydration, but the importance of hydration and fiber and how that affects your whole system. So let's jump right in and start with number one. One of the first questions I ask women when I work with them is, when did you last get your blood work done? And a lot of the times it has been ages. I get it. We are all busy. But I want to know, what's your vitamin D level? I want to know what your vitamin B complex is, or your B12. I want to know what your thyroid markers are. I also want to know when the last time that you actually just had your iron levels checked. What was your CBC? All of these things are so important because it doesn't just show up as one symptom. It can have a cascading effect. Feeling fatigued, feeling overwhelmed, not being able to sleep, being irritable. These are all things that can also be adjusted and optimized through your labs and your blood work. Biodata is also very important. Lately, if I'm really honest with you, I haven't been sleeping well. And I can tell through my heart rate variability and all these different factors that the Whoop is helping me track that my sleep would greatly impact my overall health and wellness. And if I were to sleep more, I'd probably do better. So I like to ask people about their blood work and see if they're tracking any of their biodata via wearables, which is super important. The next area I would love to talk about is cycle awareness. I'm always shocked how many women do not track their cycle. And, this is not to shame you, because until maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't track my cycle, but it has been a complete game changer. Your cycle impacts so many parts of your life. It impacts not your age, but your energy levels, your ability to digest, what you're digesting and when. All these things make a big difference. So understanding if you are in your different phases, and I can do a separate video talking about the different phases of your cycle, but understanding what phase you are in your cycle can help you plan your food. It can help you plan your activities, your meetings. A lot of us are pretending we're working on a 24-hour cycle like men, but we're actually working on a cyclical cycle where we have a longer phase of resting and processing. When we learn to allow our bodies to do things in its natural cycle, we will often find that life feels easier. So tracking your cycle, or knowing what to eat at different parts of your cycle, and then taking the time to actually plan your schedule accordingly is like master level stuff, and it will change how you show up for yourself and how you show up for those around you. Thirdly, I want to talk about hydration and fiber. I know, super unsexy, but hydration is obviously a great thing. I think I've talked about this one before. It really helps with mental clarity and energy levels. It helps clear all the debris in your system. One of the things we don't often talk about is fiber. So fiber helps with gut health. And as many of us know, the gut is our second brain. So if your gut is not happy, there's probably a lot of things that are not working out for you, but you might not be associating it with your gut. If I were to share a personal story, I don't technically have celiac disease, but I have a very strong gluten intolerance. So whenever my gut is unhappy, whenever I've had a little snack that has upset my microbiome, I get eczema, I feel very fatigued, I feel groggy, and it completely changes the way I show up because my gut has been affected. I feel inflamed all over my body, and it's just not a very pleasant experience. So for people who might be experiencing this, you might not be targeting or associating, I should say, this with your gut, but having the awareness that drinking water, having fiber, and allowing that fiber to be one of the major elements in your diet can allow a lot of gut healing. Obviously, along with taking prebiotics and probiotics, help give your gut biome a healthy layer, whereas the prebiotics are maybe sometimes foods that help you naturally produce this healthy gut biome. So, understanding the importance of combining some of these supplements, fiber and water, and allowing your gut to be happy will ultimately give you a happier state of life. So I don't want to go too much into each one because I can definitely do a video expanding on each of these, but these conversations are so necessary. So to tie this all together, today we were talking about some of the really important aspects of my Harmony framework, specifically the H in my Harmony framework. I'm sharing this information because one of the biggest things I have seen in my practice is people, women, even as a nurse, people in general, really neglecting the basic health needs. We get so focused on the nitty gritty minor details, but oftentimes our bodies are talking to us. They're talking to us when we feel foggy. They're talking to us when we're having new gut symptoms. They're talking to us when we're breaking out. Your body is telling you something needs attention. It's our opportunity to explore. And one of the best ways to explore is through looking at your blood work. It's through taking the time to assess your cycle and seeing how you're managing different phases of your cycle. It's through taking the time to be aware of how much fluid you're taking in and your gut biome. All of these things make such a big difference. And when we take the time to slow down enough to pay attention to what's going on, the body will thank us because we are investing in ourselves in a different way. So if any of this resonated with you, I would love if you leave me a comment. And I would also invite anybody who wants to dive deeper and possibly build a health routine around H, about their health, their cycle, their gut biome. Leave me a message or sign up through my booking link for a clarity call where we can spend 60 minutes to 90 minutes really deep diving into this specific section and building out a microsystem that works really well for you. I cannot wait to hear from you, and I'm looking forward to chatting. All right, guys, bye for now.